That song absolutely bangs. Hyped Happy Hour, episode 56. I am your host, Gentle Tornado, on this magical journey. I created a company called Live Hyped. Hyped is an acronym that stands for happiness, inspiration, positivity, enthusiasm, and dreams. If you look at my logo, it is an H with a heartbeat in the middle because we never know how many heartbeats we have. So here at Hyped, we are motivated to make positivity louder. We are motivated to make every single moment count and keep pushing P, which is positivity, gratitude, inspiration, whatever, all that good stuff. Today on episode 56, I am joined by an absolute goat, humble, loud, amazing, hardworking dad, Sanza. How are you, my guy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I could not be any better than this week. We're going into Vegas. We're just peak hype right now. Like I've been waiting for this for like literally 8 weeks. I've been counting down the fucking weeks, man. So hyped.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. I'm excited. Coming to my stomping grounds. It's gonna be wild. It's gonna be a wild ride. I'm excited for you to come down. What are you grateful for today? That's how we start off the show. Is what are you grateful for today?
Dude, I really try not to say it too much, but I'm just so fucking grateful for my daughter. Like, I took a picture today. I posted it earlier, proof of plushie, and the way that she looked up at me while holding that pudgy penguin plushie, my heart melted. My heart melted. I can't think of anything but gratitude whenever I see that beautiful face every single time.
Dude, that's so epic. She just turned 1, right?
Yeah, she's a little over 1 now, and she's in the I'm learning how to run stage, and she she's already done her I've fallen and I've gotten back up immediately, and now I'm running without falling. So you better catch me.
Dude, that's so much fun. That's like a wish that most parents want. They want their kid to walk, but they don't realize that once they walk that they can run and that things get way more intense. And I can just tell you with having 3 boys, it's even more intense when you multiply it. So listen, Sanza, are you having more kids or what's going on?
Oh, absolutely. We want one more, and
Okay.
then we're finishing it up. Doesn't matter whether it's a boy, girl, we don't care about that whole like we want it to be even. My wife grew up an only child,
Okay.
and she's always wanted to make she's always wanted she herself wishes she could have had a sibling growing up, so she wants to make sure that comes true for her daughter as well. And I grew up with 3 older sisters, so I'm on the other side like it's overrated. It's overrated. You don't need siblings, but I definitely can say at the very least one other sibling's nice for sure.
Dude, 3 older sisters?
3 older sisters. I'm the only. My dad literally said, "We have a boy. We're done. Stop it. End it. Call it."
No. I mean, honestly, I admire your father for going for a 4th just in case that was another girl. I mean, at that point, you've already had 3 girls, so he's probably like, what's a 4th girl? My wife wants a 4th kid, and I told her, I was like, don't mess around with God. Like, he'll give you another boy. I was like, I'm just saying, like, there's definitely a high chance that there could be another boy, and I don't think you want 4 boys in this house. Like, that's a lot, man. Like, yeah. Anyways, let's get into it. I'm going to hear your origin story. I want you to give the audience, give us like a 5-minute or whatever of who you are, where you came from. Like tell us about your childhood up to now. Like, how did you get here, and what you're doing?
Yeah, no. It's gonna be about 10 minutes. No, I'm just kidding.
That's okay. I'm down.
I'm joking. No, in probably, I would start with saying that, like, I think this is something I've said very often, but not every single person knows is that I grew up with a hearing disability, right? And so and I went to speech therapy for 13 years, and actually I still didn't really complete it. The only reason they cut me off was because I was going to a high school that didn't support the speech therapy. And so I kind of got handed off like, good luck, kids. See you next time. And so there was a lot of bullying. There was a lot of on multiple fronts, hearing disability, fat kids, short kid, you name it, all everything and all of it. And I definitely went through the troubles as a teenager a little bit, to the point where my parents actually sent me off to military camp because they were just like, we don't know what to do with you. Just like go behave better somehow. I came back and it didn't work out the way they thought. I was like, I want to go to the military. Like, no, that is not what we wanted you. We wanted you to just learn your lesson and then just be better. And I was like, no, I want to go to the military. And then, the whole hearing disability thing was a little bit of an obstacle. So that got also retract. But yeah, so going kind of, just going into school in general, I was not a good student at all. I was a fucking terrible student. Like, just to give you an idea how terrible a student I was, I graduated with 2.7 GPA. Like, I barely fucking made it. Like, I was over the moon that it was over 2.5. I was like, please do not let me graduate with just 2.5. So there's that. But then I went and worked for the family business, as you know, right? And I worked there. I had already been working there every summer from 14 up until 21. Then when I graduated, I moved up to the office and worked different departments and whatnot. I did that for about 3-4 years, give or take. I actually quit on the year I got married, funny enough. Wow. So there was a little bit of nerve wrecking that year, but we made it through. We had a great wedding. Everyone was happy, all that stuff.
What was the family business?
Real estate development.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you hated it.
I fucking hated it.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand it. I just, like, growing up, my parents never even told me what it was. So like everyone would be like, "Oh my God, congrats, blah, 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 business." I'm like, okay, sure, thanks, whatever. And then the moment I got old enough, it was like, okay, like, go do your thing. I'm like, what? I don't know anything. You never told me one thing about this fucking business. Well, how do you expect me to be excited about it? Yeah. It's not like I was like, I always wanted to be a construction. Like I don't know. So anyway, I hated it. I just left. And then I just kind of, it was tough because when you're growing up, when you're told like, oh, like you're just gonna go into the family business, you don't really have to learn anything. You're just go to family business, and you grow up with that kind of mentality. That kind of, it's a little like it's a little different. Like then you go out into the real world, you're like, oh shit, like this is like, oh shit,
Yeah.
So I just started off with what I thought I wanted to do, which was physical therapy. I ended up volunteering PTA. That didn't work out because I realized, no, fuck that. I don't want to take on 6 figures of college debt just to do something that I think I like. So I was like, fuck that. Which ironically made my segue into personal training. And I'm actually really grateful for that because I was terrible at public speaking, like fucking terrible.
Yeah, I bet.
I was not even the closest bit of competent. Like if this was happening back then, I would be trembling. My hands would be like this, and I'd be stuttering every other word. Yeah. But long story short, on that front, personal training turned into nutrition coaching, a little bit of hybrid, turned into just nutrition coaching because I was putting in 50 to 60 floor hours for the same amount of pay of 20 hours of nutrition coaching. So it just made financial sense. I love the personal training aspect, but I needed to start caring about the time dedication with the pregnant wife, happening. And so ended up becoming a nutrition coach full-time, did that for another 6 months-ish, and then found NFTs. And, I got onboarded to a project that I kind of named my price in terms of like what made the most sense between what I was getting paid and to what I was asking to get paid, and risks included. And they met it, and I worked with them for a year. Then I resigned after a year because I saw a lot more potential in Twitter Spaces, and here we are.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about like the hearing aid journey. So for a while, I'm guessing that nobody knew that you had hearing problems, or did they know?
Well,
it kind of sounded like nobody knew that you had hearing problems. They just thought like you couldn't speak well.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. My parents are deaf. Both completely deaf.
They can't hear shit.
They can't hear shit, bro. Can't hear shit.
Whoa. Okay.
If you've ever met a deaf person, you know how they talk.
Yeah,
and
of course.
As someone who is not completely deaf, but a little bit of hearing, you're mimicking that. And so it was a very similar kind of in the middle of what I could actually do and what they were actually saying. And so this is the funny part because it's still going on to this fucking day, bro. And it's hilarious. My mom swears up and down that I got malaria and that's why I lost my hearing. And she has nothing to back it up. She has nothing to back it up, right?
Oh my gosh.
And my sisters who can hear just fine and they, you know, they hear everything. They're like, no, you were born this way. And we know this because every time we call your name, you would not turn around.
Yeah.
And so I actually got my first set of hearing aids around, I was told around 4 years old. I got my first set of hearing aids. And those were the ones that were around a year, but those were like really big and visible. So you would see those fuckers right on my ear.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I eventually graduated to the ones that are in my ear now, around 12 years old. So 8 years later. And leading up to that, there was a lot of the big hearing aids, and they had something called an FM where the teacher would hook it up. And this is more so funny than it is like feel bad kind of thing because the teachers would forget to turn it off every single time. So anytime I was taking a fucking test and the teacher forgot to turn it off, you bet your ass I was like, oh yeah, baby, hit me with the answer, let's go.
Yeah. That's why you got that, that's why you didn't get 2.0, you got 2.7. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So what would like, so I don't want to bring up old memories, but I feel like at this point you're way beyond that. Is like, what was the bullying like? Like how do you make, first of all, it's just crazy that anybody would make fun of a deaf person or a partial deaf person. That's like so messed up. Never wish that on anybody. So like, what was that like? Like, what are people saying? Like, oh, you can't hear me, or what are they doing? Like, what is that like?
Well, the issue was this. Well, first of all, the real issue was because of my hearing disability, the school system didn't know where to really put me, besides put me in special education. And
Okay.
so I was getting called SPED a lot, right? Like in an insulting way, not like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, he's just a SPED, whatever. But like,
It's just a sped.
yeah, but like, so it was just kind of like, we don't really know what to do with you because you're clearly able to function.
Yeah.
So we're just going to put you in this category. And because of that category is the main reason why I got bullied. And I actually really, I mostly got like, I don't, because it's been a long time. And
Yeah.
it's really been more so because like people got used to treating me like the normal kid
Mhm.
that they just like kind of naturally fell into like, oh, why can't you hear me? Like, are you fucking stupid or something? It's just like, and then they would go the extra mile to like dig it in a little bit. But at the end of the day, once I left middle school, the bullying kind of like slowed down a lot more because I was going from a public to a private school, fortunately, right? But even in private school, I would get made fun of a lot more so for my height, sometimes my hearing. But eventually, by like my junior year, everyone kind of all agreed with me that like there needs to be a little bit of respect because
Yeah.
the problem was my parents also never taught me boundaries because deaf parents, the deaf education in general back then, terrible,
Yeah.
underfunded like severely by
Yeah.
so much. And not to mention that my mom didn't really, she graduated high school. My dad barely got through middle school. And so he kind of like stopped a little bit there in the middle of high school. And so you have those kind of sets of parents, you're not really being taught any boundaries. So, I'm in high school and these people are bullying me and I'm just like, all right, well, I don't know how else to take it. Like, this is what,
Yeah.
so it was just, it's a lot of learning and trial and error of learning how to develop my own boundaries, trying to like communicate that. And there was a huge communication issue with me and other people just in general growing up. And I think that's why once I got old enough and I actually got closer to moving out on my own, I start to realize that was a skill I needed to hone in much more so that when I do communicate, it's a little bit more clearer. And honestly, I think everyone knows by now because of my monologue. I still am honing in on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it gives, you're giving people a lot of context, and hopefully like people listen, right? When you speak, and um because communication is everything. And
Yeah.
so the fact that you had to go through these trials and tribulations is testament to like, now you're here, and now you have almost like a leg up because you've been through so many hardships with your communication and with the shit you've had to go through, where it's like now you are exceeding expectations when you're communicating. And obviously like, yes, you do have long monologues, but like that'll just come right with more speaking. And you didn't get that, as a kid, or especially with your parents being deaf. Like that's insane. I had no idea that your parents were both deaf. So that's another level of context where it's like, well, I probably won't ever give you another like hard time about a monologue, because like you didn't have that. Like you had no one to stop you and be like,
Yeah.
you better stop talking,
My
because
dad was also legally blind as well.
this is wild. So listen, so let's just dive into this real quick before we get into the segments. Is like, your parents they're in a niche, like real estate development. Like this is like niche of niche with like deaf people, because like how do they selling these
So
developments if they
we
can't communicate, and your dad is legally blind?
so my grandfather is one of 9 brothers.
Wow.
And so he when he came back home from World War II, he had inherited a few properties, which he then continued to further develop. And so it's actually my dad and my uncle, which is his brother. And even though my dad is technically older, my uncle is, let's face it, doesn't have the same disabilities that my dad does. So
Yeah.
so it's kind of like a work together and trio kind of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's really how it happened. But like, and my mom and my dad were just childhood sweethearts. So it's just one of those things. But yeah, it was definitely they definitely got lucky. I'll say that much, at least at the
Yeah,
very least.
because other than that, they would have been absolutely screwed. I was like, yeah, like I'm
I don't know
screwed.
where I'd be right now, but what's
Yeah.
it for that?
You might still be at that military camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna dive into it. We're gonna get into happiness. The podcast obviously about bridging the gap between personal journey and the words within hyped. So I'm gonna share my screen immediately, and I'm gonna read to you my favorite definition of success. It's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. It says, to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. How do you feel about that?
I love that, man. I love that. I think that one might be one of the few quotes that I've ever read in my life, even as a kid, that I like. It still hits home.
Yeah.
I practice stoicism a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what that reminds me of almost immediately, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just the biggest thing that rings true for me is I constantly repeat this to myself in the back of my head, which is that I don't wish things happen as I want them to. I wish that they happen as they should.
Yeah.
That's it.
Absolutely. That's it. That is it right there, dude. Life we get the privilege of having life happen to us, and we get to experience that every single day. And there's ups and downs, there's bads, there's uglies, there's greats. It's an absolute pleasure and a privilege to experience life. And I think that mindset is huge. Do you read the Daily Stoic every day?
I used to. I used
Okay.
to. I'm not an active reader as much as I like to be,
Okay.
but there was a huge a huge chunk of a year where I did read the Daily Stoic every day. I read meditations for a little bit. I read Obstacles Away, Ego's the Enemy. Those were some of the most banger books that I've ever read. I want to read Atomic Habits soon, because it might be the one book that I read the most samples of without actually having read it completely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everyone swears by it. So clearly there's something to be said about that. And it feels like, and from what I heard, it aligns a lot with the values and morals of Stoicism in general. And so that's yeah.
You definitely need to read that. So I'm guessing you're a very visual person. So do you like to read?
I don't like to read,
Really?
which
Wow.
yeah. Before I got into Stoicism, right? I got into it, but like, you know what I mean. Before I found it, I guess is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
correct term.
Mhm.
The last book I had read was like high school,
Yeah.
and
So that's interesting. Are you an audio learner then? Or do you think you're kinesthetic, which is like feeling and touch? Because like
so
I don't read. Absolutely hate reading, but I could listen to 500 audiobooks in a week because I'm an audio learner. And so like that's why I love spaces and stuff, because I can listen to anything, or like I could be doing stuff and listening to you talk and be productive. And so I find that interesting that you're not a visual person with your hearing. So what do you think? You're kinesthetic, like
well,
you
so
feeling and touch?
I am a visual person in the case of, like, for example, when I watch TV, I have closed captioning on and I can watch both, no problem.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to, when you say visual, right? I'm thinking like, big pictures or whatever, right? Like a fucking kid's book or whatever. But like and I'm like, oh well, but no, I there was just a way that the books that I read, like Ego's the Enemy, um, what's The Obstacle is the Way, those particular books was just written in a way that just kept me so engaged. And I had never experienced that before. So for me personally, I just haven't really followed through completely more on that path, because reading those books was enough to kind of like empower me in the sense of where I I actually literally made a complete life pivot to understanding where I really want to go. Right, that because at that moment, that's when I became a nutrition coach while being a personal trainer. Because I was trying to tell myself, you're a personal trainer, you like this, like you can't do another career change. You're getting to 30, like you need to figure something out. Like, cause that was something that like I was groomed to believe, was like, if I'm not doing something by 30, I'm fucking it up. And so when I had read those books particularly, it had made a really big change for me already. So when I had made that change, I kind of like put any and all reading aside to chase that and make sure that I could keep that same mindset and really explore the path a little bit. So it's like, I'm like one of these people that, like, I mean, everyone talks about it all the time, right? ADHD. You could probably fucking build a bookshelf overnight, even though you never learned how to do construction before in your life. Like, I'm that dramatic in the sense of like, some nights I stay up and completely clean the house, and my wife wakes up and like, what the fuck did you just do? So like it's those kind of vibes. But
Yeah.
lately it's been much more pushing towards the special shop and everything on the back end of that, and developing that so that when I'm ready to release what I'm doing right now, and hopefully in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months even, then I can really do it with complete confidence. Basically, I'm taking what I've always wanted to see in a founder, right? And apply that to this. This is not an NFT collection or anything like that. It's just something that I really want to develop, and I really want to see it through, in the sense that I don't want any fucking distractions. And I'm just gonna like, I'm gonna be proud of it when I start talking about it, kind of deal.
Okay. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I'm excited. Let's get into happiness. What is the happiest moment of your life?
Easy. My daughter was born.
Yeah. Did you cry?
Oh, I couldn't talk. I couldn't talk for 30 minutes. Like,
Wow.
they would ask me questions, and every time I tried to talk, I would choke up. Like,
Wow.
yeah.
So tell me about that moment.
I I don't know how else to describe the moment besides, it was literally when my paternal instinct kicked in. And the only reason why I noticed it was because I actually, and this is gonna sound silly, I remember the feeling of when we got our first dog, which her name is Faye. And I remember the feeling of once we had her and she was in our car and we started driving away. I just had this like switch on me turn. I'm like, okay, like, why do I all of a sudden want to protect this fucking thing with my whole life? And then that was amplified 100x when my daughter was born. And I was like, I would kill for you, like, you know? And so the best way that I can say it for anyone that goes through birth, I feel like it's just, that's like when the paternal instinct literally turns on.
Yeah. No, when you pick up your baby for the first time, you just look down and you're like, I got you. And that just
Yeah.
gives you a whole nother level of motivation to, at any moment that you're struggling, be like, I literally have to put on for my city, for my kid. Like, I have to do this for my kid. There's no other option. And that, yeah. So I love that you said that. How do you believe gratitude contributes to the pursuit of happiness?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Um, I think it how does it contribute to the pursuit of happiness? I think it in the best way that I can kind of apply it to my personal experience is that every time I tell myself I'm grateful for something, I literally change my mindset every single time. And sorry, I shouldn't say change, reset my mindset every single time. So it doesn't matter if I'm having a good day, a bad day, whatever day. The moment I'm grateful for something, boom, I'm like, cool. I'm super grateful to just have fucking woken up today. Like,
Yeah.
I'm super grateful that my wife is patient with me putting in this many hours per month on fucking spaces. You know, I'm grateful that I'm this close to achieving something that I've been trying to achieve, but literally the last 10 months. Like, it's just it keeps coming there. It's just the list just keeps growing and growing every fucking week. And I just wake up happier and happier. I know it sounds corny and I know it sounds silly, but like, it's literally what happens. You find something you're grateful for and you're like, okay, cool. Like, it's not that you can't complain. It's just that all of a sudden complaining about something just seems a little silly. It seems detrimental to whatever it is was you were doing before. So, like, just move on and keep pushing towards the bigger picture goal that you have. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Gratitude drives happiness. And the things that you said are all things that amplify your happiness or your mood by leaning back on gratitude. And how can you be upset? You start asking yourself, like, how can I be down? How can I be upset when I am a dad? I have clean water. I woke up. I have a wife that supports me. I have this that I'm doing. I'm close to a goal. I get the opportunity to have this goal that I'm close to achieving, right? It's things like that that you can ingrain in yourself. And then when you're having a bad day, you can reframe it to be like, well, I'm a dad. I woke up. I have water. I have food. I have a house. I have weights in my basement. Like, that's the alpha. That's the alpha, because there's, if not 40%, 50% of the world, but probably 70% of the world that has it way worse than you. And so then you start being like, wow, like, I'm grateful for like the ground level stuff, like food, water, hot water, stuff like that. And it's like, that just takes you to a whole new level where, yeah, you're just happy about everything,
yeah.
because, it's like, yeah,
I
it's,
will I will say this. I will say this. To get to that point though, I had to learn that sometimes it's okay to not, let's say, if I'm having a really, really bad day, I'm just like, it's fucking horrendous. I'm dragging my feet. I don't want to do anything. Like, it's okay to just kind of like let those feelings flow through you and just feel it. Just feel it. Don't think about, oh, someone else has it worse than me. That doesn't matter. Someone else is not you right now.
yeah,
You are you. You know what you're going through. Let yourself go through it. Just take it minute by minute at that point. Like, you don't
yeah,
need to be thinking about anything else besides, how do I just get a little bit better than right now? And it could mean anything. It could mean literally sitting on the couch, looking at the wall, looking at the TV with nothing on it. Me turning this chair around, looking at this fucking wall. Like, it could be anything. It could be taking a nap. It could be just literally writing in the journal. Like, it doesn't have to be any one solution. it kills me when people try to find a one solution fits all thing. There's no such thing.
Yeah.
Everyone is unique in their own way. Everyone has their own approach. And whenever someone tries to share what works for them to another person in front of me, in the nicest way that I can put it, I'm just like, it may not work for them too, just so you know, like it's that simple.
That is so important. And one of the biggest questions I get asked is how do I stay so energetic? How do I stay so positive? How do I stay so grateful? And I always say that here's what I do. This is my examples of what I do. I'm grateful. I lean into my family. I lean into things that I love the most. But that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So you have to figure out ways that you can be grateful or you can be positive or you can find excitement in your life, because I can't do that for you. I could tell you everything that I do. I could tell you how my friends do it. I could tell you how my wife does it. It literally doesn't matter. And I know that translates so many other places, right? Entrepreneurship, running a business, doing anything, running, like literally anything, because for example, like Gary Vee can give you all the info. Like you're not going to do it just like Gary Vee. You're going to take it and you're going to do it how GT does it. You're going to do it how Sanza does it, because that's going to be the way that you get farther in your own life, because you don't want to just copy somebody else. You want to do it. You want to take what somebody else did, learn from them, and do it your own way.
Yeah, I literally could not agree more. It's I hate to say it like this because I'm literally always involved in spaces, but like it's literally how people say like, oh, this space is host, it's like that space is host. It's like no. Take if you need to be inspired by anyone, take what they're doing and mix it with your style. If you like, if I like how you host, then I'm going to take something that you do that I really like, and I'm going to mix it in with my own style and make it like my own. Right? It just hurts me whenever I see people like comparing one space's host to another, and I just feel for them because I'm just like, well, they're trying, like And but anyway, I think that's also a really good way of putting what you said as well.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to hear your take on this question because of what you do. So, how do you balance pursuing your own happiness with considering the happiness of others?
I love this one. I really do. I really like this question. Um, and the best way that I can put it is that I literally treat everyone that I'm talking to, whether it's online, whether you're actually in front of me, whether I'm texting you, calling you, whatever, like you're literally standing right here in front of me. I would not say or do anything that I wouldn't do as if you were standing right in front of me. And that's how I balance it, because if you're in front of me and we're talking, we're having a chat, I'm already happy. But and at the same time, I'm making sure I'm respectful to you and any boundaries you want to set. And that's how I know you're happy, or at least I hope you're happy. Okay. And I'll check in with them. I'll check in with them to the point where they get fucking annoyed. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you good? All right, cool. Just check in. Like, like, hey, you sure? Okay, cool. I'd rather you get annoyed at me for asking than me not asking. You get like, But yeah, that's kind of how I do it. I talk and I treat everyone in the way of like, well, what would I do if they were in front of me? And if there's a certain scenario situation that arises, what would I do if they were in front of me? Like it just all boils down to that point. And yeah, that honestly, I think that's the best way I could put it. Really,
like really living in the moment. I like that, and I really enjoy that, where you're really present, because that is one of the most important things in life, and it's especially important being a husband and being a dad. And so I love that. How has your perspective on happiness changed over time in your life?
I think as we grow, as we get older, as we age, we just naturally gravitate towards things that we just want to what's the word I'm looking for? When you're a kid, right? Anything makes you happy, right? Anything mom and dad does, you're happy, right? As you become a teenager, you're mostly what makes you happy is probably anything sports related. You get to go out over your friends and whatnot. And the way I see it is that as we get older, we just naturally gravitate towards what makes us better, right? Whether it's financially, whether it's mentally in general, physically, et cetera, like professional athletes, uh, let's say a therapist, let's just say construction worker, whatever the case might be. I think it's natural that we have different phases in our lives coming up, and it's just something that is inevitable to us. We're gonna constantly develop into different people, and it's just not. I'm trying to make sure I say this part right. It's not feasible to think we're going to be the exact same coming up. You're going to go through shit. You're not going to go through a bunch of bullying and come out the same person you did before, right? You're going to come out stronger. You're going to come out stronger mentally and physically for it, but you're also going to have a different mindset going forward, right? Okay, well, I can't trust everyone now, right?
Yeah.
I can't trust everyone, but I can figure out what I want and what kind of people I want so that I can start trusting again.
Yes, 100%. And that happens all throughout life, right? It evolves, right? Because you have experiences, you have different life changing experiences, you just have day-to-day experiences, things that shape you to be who you are. And there's no way that my happiness when I was 7 is gonna be the same as when I'm 29 years old, right? Like I had one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had in my entire life this last weekend. I was up in the mountains with my family, and it happened to be somewhere I grew up going to, somewhere my wife had grown up going to. And, you know, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a dad. I wanted to be a husband. That was like such a goal for me. And for her, her dream was to bring her kids up to where, you know, Duck Creek, where she went the whole summer. And, you know, for the first time, my oldest son was able to ride a quad because he's 4 now, and the excitement that he had on that thing, I can't even replicate it. I don't know. I'll never forget it. He did not know how to brake, so he would drive, and then he would just jump off. He would just get off of it when he's going slow at the very end of when he was going, and he would start jumping up and down. That's how excited he was. And my wife that night was like, this is dream come true for me. And so the fact, then it's like then everything hits you, right? You're like, holy shit, like this was a dream for me. This was a dream for my wife. We somehow got married, somehow brought our kids up here. Somehow now my son is riding a quad, loving his life. It's like, that is a dream come true that was achieved. And so at 7 years old, I wouldn't be as happy as I am now to realize like that moment has happened, and to see where it's going to take us as a family and as a dad and all these things is like, your fucking kid's only one, dude. Like I tell everybody that has kids that are younger than my kids, I'm just telling them, you're just in for a treat. Like it's just the best. Like it is the best thing ever. And my kid's only 4. My oldest kid's only 4. I can't even wait till he's 10. Like I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do. Like it's gonna be sick. I can tell you that though.
Yeah.
So
I remember seeing something, and I forget where I saw it. It was obviously on social media, but it was something along the lines of like you only have 12 summers, or like a more realistic number of like, you know, before your kid starts wanting to like go out with his friends or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's like really like you think you have 18 to 20 plus summers, but you really only have like 15 or 14, and one just happened. Like are you like, don't sleep on this. This is something that isn't, you know. And so that kind of hit home for me. I was like, yeah, like we already had one summer with her. Like I'm just, you know, mind blown by all of it. And so yeah, man, I 100%, which by the way, that picture that you took of your family was so beautiful, man. That was just like, I teared up a little bit seeing that. It made me so happy to see that. Genuinely.
Thank you,
Yeah.
man. I think that, yeah, when you're happy with your life, you know, there's so many things that can happen outside of just your core that can affect you. And I just feel like I know that I'm just have this force field of happiness, good energy that's around me, that I just like, you can fire off whatever you want at me. It doesn't matter because it's going to bounce right off, because I'm at such a good place, and I'm just going to keep getting to better places. And of course, there's going to be trials and tribulations, but yeah, man, I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
It was incredible. I mean,
yeah.
So
And not to like kind of like derail the conversation a little bit, but I do remember This really just popped up in my head as we were talking about kind of like taking it back a little bit to what pivoted my life a lot. And I actually died at 15. I was declared clinically dead at 15 years old from drinking too much alcohol.
What?
I was declared clinically dead. I had black liquor coming out of my nose. It was I it was a fucking experience. I will say that much.
I mean,
Uh,
how do you not touch on that? You have to tell the story now. This
I
is insane.
I just remembered it, and it happened. It happened literally half of my life ago. It's been a while, but I was actually no more than that. I was 14 or 15, around there, 14 to 15. Um,
Insane, dude.
I'm gonna feel stupid talking about it, but we're gonna get through it. It'll be fine. Um, when you're in high school in like the early 2000s, I mean, there's still fucking kids doing it now. It's just a little different vibe, but like you're trying to drink, you're trying to be cool, you're trying to do everything and whatever. My parents had a bar in the house, obviously, so I would grab that, and I would pour all that into water bottles, put that in a backpack. We had a local concert happening, and my cousin was playing. And it was the first time that I was finally going to see him play. And that was at a point in our lives where my cousin and I were developing like our family relationship a little bit closer. He's 3 years older than me. And so that to me personally, I saw him as a little bit of a bigger brother because I had three older sisters, which, by the way, I forgot to mention the age gap. My youngest sister is 12 years older than me. So, yeah,
that's wild.
Huge age, yeah, huge age gap. Sometimes I don't know the story that my parents told me is real, but like we were praying for a boy, and 12 years later, it's like okay, whatever. Let's go with that story. Some people are like,
hold your phone here, dude. You have siblings older than my parents. I know that for sure. My dad and my mom are only 52. Like, how old is your oldest sister?
She's 51.
Dude, I mean, yeah. Sanza's parents are absolutely riding. That's all I can say, dude. That's literally all I can say, dude. Oh man. Okay, sorry. Continue with your almost dead or your dead story.
Yeah. So me and a couple other friends, we were gonna go see this concert, and so I was really excited to go see my cousin. It was just a little bit of a habit and a ritual to like, get drinks, bring it with you, go drink. So there was a local town, and they had this, I guess attraction is the fucking word for it, called the Gates of Hell. And what it really was, it was just an opening in a sewer that you could sit without getting dirty and like, secretly drink and then walk out as if you weren't doing anything. Bro, I'm not joking. There were 40 other bottles from other people still full, leaving it there like it's their fucking house. It was insane. It's the first time I've ever been there. But anyway, long story short, I drank a lot. I drank like a whole bottle of raspberry Bacardi and 2 water bottles. You ready for this? You're not going to be ready for this. A black Sambuca.
Oh.
Now, for anyone that doesn't know what Sambuca is, it tastes like absolute shit. I'm probably biased. I'm probably biased because I haven't touched it since, but it is disgusting. And I was just like, I can't waste this. This is straight from the bar. I can't bring this back home. My dad's gonna kill me. I gotta finish it. So I have to do 2 water bottles because one of my friends pussied out. They pussied out. I'm the one that
was smart. Yeah, he was really smart that day.
Yeah. But anyway,
you chose to see God that day.
I sure did. So I went back for the Bacardi raspberry, drank it, and then next thing I remember, I just kept going back, right? And then I blacked out. Apparently, what happened after that was I crawled out and I laid down, like literally like, fucking dead body type laid down. Now look, I want to pause here for a second. Um, want to pause here for a second. I am by no means like super religious or anything like that. I'm not like trying to be like I'm a spiritual bear or anything like that. I just need to put that out there. But I swear to God, I remember it like it was yesterday. I floated outside my own body.
Wow.
And I feel stupid, but I feel like I need to drive this point home. I floated outside my home body. I looked at my own eyes and I was passed the fuck out. Passed out. And then I just kept floating up. I couldn't do anything about it. I just felt like I was getting sucked up. And then at one point, I saw events unfold that, like me getting pushed into the ambulance, like kind of like all in one's montage, if you will. And then next thing I know, everything just went black. And I woke up in the hospital at 3 a.m. Vomiting my fucking guts out. And according to everyone and every person, if you ask them, there was no reason for me to survive. I had blood alcohol content that was so far above what they had ever seen. They were like, we don't understand how you're alive in the fucking slightest, like at all. So I literally got a second chance at life. And all I could think to myself was, why? Why am I alive right now? Like, what is it that allowed me to be back here? Right. And, if I had to describe my religious standing, and not to insult anyone or anything, I would say I'm much more aligned with agnostic, just because, like, to me, that makes the most sense, because I didn't technically see anything, but I felt certain things. And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe there is, and so, I know a lot of people have very strong beliefs, but I just felt the need to put that out there because, it's just, it's a very touchy subject, and I totally get it.
It's not as serious. Listen, I'm mega religious,
Yeah.
and that doesn't mean I push it on people. Honestly, I'm shocked that you're not more religious after coming back. That's wild.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I mean,
wild.
it definitely made me believe in a higher power in general, right? Like, and that's what made me religious in the first place. And so, like, so basically, before that, I was completely atheist at that point,
Yeah. But you saw God that day or something.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the
I
thing.
saw,
Yep.
I saw and felt something that day. But and anyway, so what had followed after that was a really, really interesting journey, honestly, over the next 5 years after that, because it started off with family that was both happy and really, really upset, because, like, how could you do that? Like, and just to give everyone kind of a context, is we're talking about an immediate family of 17 people. So I have 17 people coming at me pretty hard right after this. And then that was actually the summer my parents sent me to military camp, like, immediately. They just genuinely were like, we love you. We're not sure how to process this. Like, just go away for a summer. And I was like, okay. And I went away. And that's what initially got me kind of fit, because I had been a fat kid leading up to that point. And after that, it taught me a little bit more about training and fitness and whatnot. But besides that point, when I had gotten to college, what was really interesting is I still had suicidal tendencies, despite knowing what I had gone through. Like,
Yeah.
and now, I just described the story as if it was yesterday. I'm 33, and that was 16, 17 years ago. Like, I mean, it's clearly very vivid in my mind, but yet I still have those suicidal tendencies. But the good news is, what that experience had brought me was self-awareness. And what I mean by that is, I was self-aware enough to know, why am I having these suicidal tendencies? This is not normal. And, like, I should be happy to be alive. I should be grateful to be alive. Like, I literally should be dead right now. Literally. And so, I had known well enough to be able to seek out a therapist and start there. And that's when I started therapy at 19, all the way up until I got married. And now I'm back in therapy more for maintenance, because I realized that it's necessary.
Yep.
And so it's let me tell you, it's been a fucking hell of a journey from that point. And to drive the point even further, GT, that was kind of a similar impact that Stoicism had on me. So when I had gone through that little chunk of a period of reading those books, understanding what Stoicism really is for me personally, that was another shift. That was another, kind of new lease on life, if you will.
Yeah, that's wild, and you almost have an advantage from almost dying, I would say, to be honest.
Yeah.
And you know, yeah, that's crazy, man. And I love that you are going to therapy. I think therapy is absolutely incredible. I know it's incredible, and I am on a mission to make therapy cool. Like, I want
Oh,
therapy to be the coolest shit that you can go do for yourself, and I just do not understand why it's demonized, why, and obviously that's why I started the nonprofit for teens, because it starts there with, teens making fun of each other if they found out that someone was going to therapy. Teens don't even want to go to therapy. Most people don't even want to go to therapy. And the thing is just making yourself better. That's it. Like, that's
yeah.
the easiest way to describe therapy, is like, you just want to get better. Doesn't matter. We don't have to address a problem. There's no such thing. When you describe therapy, it's that you want to get better as a human, or if couple therapy, you just want to get your marriage better. There's so many different ways to look at it. And I want to make that like a forefront of things. And I've had conversations with some therapy companies, like some online therapy companies, because I really want to drive that home. So I definitely love that you shared that. This is going to be a fun question because of what you just shared, but or maybe not. But what is one lesson in your life that you've had to learn the hard way? I mean, honestly, I didn't want to ask it because I'm like, maybe don't drink too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's got to
Yeah.
be another one that's a lesson.
Yeah, no. Sorry, it just made me laugh a little bit. Like, well, I learned not to take life for granted. That's for sure.
Not to go to the gates of hell. That's a
Yeah,
bigger, yeah.
yeah. They compensated everything once I pretty much ruined I ruined the party for
You
everyone.
were that kid. You were that kid. Yeah, man.
Everyone remembered me pretty well after that.
That's awesome.
um, but yeah, I would have to say that mm, was one thing I had to learn the hard way. I would say that, kind of circling back to our earlier conversation, which was really learning how to develop boundaries. Because, and I speak that as someone who grew up with deaf parents that didn't understand how to teach boundaries. And so that was a really big challenge. And also kind of tag on to that, you know, being truly self-sufficient. And what I mean by that is I have been pretty codependent a lot. Like, I was almost jumping from relationship to relationship and just kind of depending on each significant other after another. Um, and one of the biggest reasons why I married my wife is because she literally taught me how, like, what my boundaries are, not just hers or ours. What are your boundaries? And, you know, what do you really want out of this? And it's just, I had never been challenged like that before. And I was just like, I gotta marry you. I can't let you go. I'm sorry. Like, you're stuck with me forever. Like that. So to sum it up a little bit, I would definitely say it's learning how to develop boundaries and being self-sufficient for sure.
I love it. I love it. I think, that's a very pivotal part of life. And I love that your wife helped you with that. Is there a particular quote or mantra that you live by that that has inspired you? Or, I know you talked about the Daily Stoic, but do you have one or two that like you live by every single day?
I literally repeat almost daily in my head. I kind of already said it earlier, GT, but it's I the one quote that I literally live by is that I will never wish that things happen as I want them to. I will wish that they happen as they should. And I'm gonna work my ass off either way.
Yeah. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. That's how life is. The two things that you can control in life is how hard you work and how you spend your time. That is a mic drop. Two things. That's what you get to control in life. How you spend your time and how hard you work. Boom. Bottom line. Everything else, nope. Like, you don't listen. My son shits on the ground. I don't control that. Listen, I told him you need to go in the toilet, dude. And like, sometimes he's gonna shit on the ground. And like, listen, I'm gonna coach him up a little bit so he doesn't shit on the ground again. But shit happens. So, anyways, I love that answer.
Yeah, I will also say this: not being a good student really made me shit the bed for most of my life. But like, once I really found what I actually enjoyed doing, because the reality was I told you, family business, hated it. Did that for 3 to 4 years after college. And after going through schooling that just did not hit home for me, like, you're talking about years of doing shit you hate. And so you don't know what it's like to do something you really like. Once I actually found that, it was so easy to work hard. If you know what I mean. Like, it feels weird to say that because they're like, oh, well, if you really like what you're doing, you never have to work a day in your life. It's like, yes, but if we're looking how everyone perceives it, you're working your ass off. But maybe you don't feel that way, but you're pushing it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree. I took like a completely different approach where I worked mega hard for my family business, for my dad's business. And so what that did was instill like a different level of work ethic to where I mean, I've always had a good work ethic, but now it's like I get to do what I want and it's different, like exactly what you said. And so it's cool that you said that point because I took a different approach. You took a different approach, but on the same, not path, but our own paths to where now we get to do what we love or chase our passions. And the level of work ethic is different, more. It's so many different things. So yeah, no, I absolutely love that. Yeah, but we're riding. How do you balance seeking inspiration from others, but also staying true to your own unique voice or vision?
That's a loaded question. How do I balance seeking inspiration from others while also maintaining my own unique voice in the process? I like that. I like that question a lot. That's a good question. All right. Well, I would have to say is this. I approach things in a way where there's a lesson to be learned from every single person. Some lessons might repeat themselves, and that's okay. Some lessons are worth repeating. Um, that's how I would say that I seek inspiration from others more so. Um, while maintaining my own voice in the process, I've said it before. I'm unapologetically myself. Like, you will, GC, I think you kind of realize that by now. Like, the way we're talking on camera, the way I talk on spaces, you've seen me in person, is all the same person. There's no shipper personalities. There's no, someone said my space is voice, but that's probably because like I'm either tired from spaces, voices wise. But like, other than that, same exact person. So I think it's just more of like, when am I not myself? And so I just kind of mix that in with every time I have a conversation with someone. What can I learn from this person? What are they saying that I can take something away from? What, is there something that they know that I may not know? And how do I discuss that with them in a way that I can learn from them, but that they also can take away from the conversation? And sometimes I don't always succeed at them taking away from the conversation, but then at the very least, I tell them that I'm grateful for them for the time and for teaching me and educating me on really that lesson or anything at that point. But I would say that's how I do that.
No, I love it. I agree completely with you. And, we kind of touched on it earlier about, getting inspiration from people, but also taking it and doing it yourself. And so it's so important when you're going through life. Okay. Positivity. You already know me. Make positivity louder. I'm on an absolute mission. Positivity will change your life. It's truly proven how much positivity will change your life by so many different studies, but also just by doing it and preaching it and living it in your life. Are there any specific practices that you have in your life that helps you be more positive?
I would say that I don't know if I have any specific practices, if I'm being honest, but I would definitely say that just in general, like I almost died, so for me, I'm just like, I just stay positive because I'm like, I'm here, I'm alive, and like I'm taking the phrase "I'm happy I woke up today" to a whole nother meaning, if
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Um,
Legit.
but but yeah, I honestly, genuinely just have that mantra that I told you about earlier that I
Mhm.
just kind of repeat in the back of my head, and I just always keep in mind that if if I'm if I'm if I'm functioning and I'm okay and there's nothing particularly dead wrong, then I care about other people more and helping them in the best way that I can, because the reality is I'm gonna be okay, and
Mhm.
I already have the tools and resources that I use to bring myself back to earth. Right. I go to therapy every Friday. I talk with my wife in a very deep way every other night if I really need to. If she has the the patience and the tolerance for me to do that with her. Um, but it's just I have very specific things in place that when I do them, it's a little bit of a reset either way, and it brings me back to kind of like just the overall positive place that I have. And I also stay extremely realistic of myself. And what I mean by that is I've been around a lot of people who have told me to just, for lack of a better way to say it, shove down your feelings and don't worry about it and you'll be happy. And having been through that and knowing that that's not the answer, I can freely and happily not shove those feelings down, let myself go through the process, and just realize that I'm going to come out more positive for it at the end of the day. Whether it may not be the same positive as yours or someone else that's on the other side of the screen, but for me, I'm, I'm, I'm better than I was before, and no one else is suffering the repercussions. And so, I definitely have not caught myself on some days where I know I've done too much screen time, and
Mhm.
I'll put my phone down. So like, there's very it's a lot of different approaches, and I know it's kind of I mean I do have ADHD at the end of the day, but it's just kind of like I have a lot of trigger cues that
Yeah.
helps me kind of take a step back and be like, well, hold the fuck up.
Yeah.
Let's stop the train for a second. There have literally been days where I'll unplug my soundboard, close my laptop, put down the blinds, turn my phone on the screen down, and just like put my head down. So I'm just like, what the fuck do I have to do right now? You know what I mean? And so that really, you know, I have no shame. Like I essentially am almost always putting the ego aside, to the sense of like, forget all that.
Yeah.
Objectively,
Yeah.
what's going on right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No,
yeah,
that's good. No, I love it. I think it's great, and you touched on different points that you and different things that you use in your life. So you kind of at the beginning were like had said one thing and then explained your whole process, which was awesome to hear. There's this stigma behind toxic positivity. It's like very big in our society, and I just think it's a myth that someone made up because, the Lasada ratio is one example that shows that it takes 3 positive emotions to kill a negative emotion. So that just shows how important positivity is, not only in our world, but especially in places like our news, headlines, politics, anywhere where negativity is winning. And that's why it's so hard to crush negativity, because positivity is not as amplified. So, in your opinion, what are some misconceptions that people may have about positivity? And how do you think that they can be addressed to overcome that?
yeah. I really think people take the toxic positivity stigma to the next level way too much, and it doesn't mean forgetting everything that you're going through and just smile, because that just leads to even worse things.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, again, that's one of those situations where you just let the feelings flow through you, in the sense of, just taking a breath in, writing down what you're feeling. There's a lot of different approaches to that, but for the most part, whether you're writing them down, talking out loud, recording yourself, etc., you're doing one core thing. You're letting the feelings that you're having happen. You're letting them happen. You're not making yourself feel bad before you even let yourself have a thought. You're having the thoughts. You're letting the feelings happen.
Yeah. No, I love it. I agree. And you have to let the negative emotions, you have to recognize those. You also have to recognize the positive emotions, and then you can deal with those things. And it's kind of been the theme of what we've been talking about, is that you have to address the emotions and the things that are happening, and then you get to feel those emotions. And that's just a level of self-awareness that can take you to the next level of understanding what's happening to you, understanding your own feelings, understanding how you can respond to someone, understanding how you can handle a situation. And like you said, these are all things in your life that you get to learn, and then you get happiness from a different place. And yeah, I love that you said that, for sure.
I like to say, I don't always say it, but I like to say, I hate when I do that. I'm like, I always say this. It's like, no, you don't, dude. You say it sometimes. We can't know what the good days are without having the bad days.
100%.
You need the negativity to exist in order to know what the positivity is.
Yes.
To think otherwise would be extremely foolish.
Yeah. A few podcast episodes ago, I had this guy named Talon on, and one of the clips that I took out of it was, at your lowest moment in your life is when you're the clearest, is when your mind is the clearest, because it's only up from there. When you are at your lowest of lows is when the whole world stops around you and you get to focus on only going up. And I feel like that's exactly what you just said, because it's true. Like, you have to hit the bottom to understand. Yeah. The grind,
Yeah.
So I love it. Okay, dude, we're getting to enthusiasm. I know that you got enthusiasm. I got enthusiasm. We ride every single day. Listen, Sanza, what are 3 things right now in your life that you are obsessed with?
Gentle. You know what I'm gonna say, man. You know what I'm gonna say. I mean, come on. I wake up every fucking morning and I do good morning, everyone. I mean, come on, bro. You know what I'm gonna say. Obviously, I eat, live, and breathe the espresso shot, and that's not an over exaggeration. So yeah, there's one thing I'm enthusiastic about. And another thing I'm really obsessed with is, family development. I'm very, very aware of, Gento. I think you and I can agree on this here. Once the kids start coming, that date night is so important.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Yeah.
Like, my wife and I realized the other week that oh shit, we haven't had a date night in 3 months. We should probably fix that.
Yeah.
And my sister, being the amazing, my youngest sister, the one that's 12 years old.
Yeah.
I know I got 3, so I gotta address this one. She's the godmother as well. She was like, go on a date night. I got them for tomorrow if you need to go. And be like, cool. And it was just that quick. And so that, when I say family development, that's part of that, because we're developing that kind of, that side of us again, without having to worry about a kid running around, without having to worry about 2 dogs doing whatever. And then the third thing I would say is what can I do better tomorrow that I did or did not do today? And I know that's a little bit of a mouthful, but it's really, and I guess you could also categorize that as self-development, if we're being honest, but I like more words, as you guys know. But those have been the 3 really important things to me, because I'll back up and say, with the espresso shot, I'm obsessed with making it into a real business, a company. And I literally, I'm on 2 to 3 team calls every other day to kind of make sure everyone's staying in touch in some way. And if not, it's everyone's talking in the group chat that we have that, what's going on next Monday? Do we have this? What's going on next Wednesday? Are you good for that? Do I need to reach out to someone? Et cetera, et cetera. I'm obsessed with really developing a strong infrastructure so that when it does blow up, and it will blow up, we can really fuck shit up.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the best way possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, special shot, family development and self-development.
I love it. What are some hobbies that just get you jacked up? Give me a few hobbies that just like fire you up that you just love to do. It might be something that you don't do regularly, right? Like I love playing video games. It's not something I do ever, but I fucking love it. Like that'll get me pumped.
Yeah, this is gonna sound really fucking stupid, but I just TV, man. I just love to watch TV.
Okay.
And I'll dive in just a little bit more on that. I love to watch it, go on Reddit, read all the reviews of it, and dive into why was the plot not as good as people would have liked? Why was the plot? Why didn't the plot go this way? Why didn't it go that way? And then I'll text my friends that also watch it, and we'll have like it's almost like book club, but with fucking anime or movies or whatever. And so I would say that that's the closest thing I have to a hobby, because I have a terrible way of taking things that I really, really like and turning them into jobs in some way, shape, and form.
Okay. I need your number one TV show and I need your number one movie right now.
Oh,
because I get so many people on this on the pod that don't watch a lot of TV or movies, and I'm fucking mind blown. So I love also TV and movies, but I don't watch them anymore. But give me your number one TV show and your number one movie.
Okay, I'll go with what I like right now, because I mean, Gento, I'm an anime guy. You know me.
Okay.
So number one TV show, Demon Slayer, 100%.
Okay.
And then number one movie, man, this is a tough one because I have different categories, right? I got the sci-fi, I got the classics, if you will. If I had to go classic, I'll go classic.
You have one favorite movie. I don't believe that everybody doesn't have one favorite movie, dude. I just can't. Like, it's not even I don't have to think. It's Night of the Roxbury. Don't even fucking at me, dude. I knew it off the top of my dome. Okay. Favorite trilogy, Lord of the Rings. Don't fucking at me, dude. I'm ready. Sorry, I've had a little bit more practice of this, so I'll give you some grace. What is your number one movie, dude?
So when you asked me that question, I'll say what came to my head immediately. Catch Me If You Can.
I mean, that's got to be it. I feel like that's what you thought of first.
Yeah.
What was up for debate in your head? What was your other options?
Well, I was thinking sci-fi. I was thinking like other shit.
You're a big sci-fi guy.
Oh, it's all I watch. It's all I watch, bro.
Okay, then what's your favorite sci-fi movie?
It's a close one between the original Guardians of the Galaxy and Interstellar.
Oh wow, yeah, Interstellar is an absolute mindfuck. Guardians, the guy actually just watched Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, no, I've seen it before, but I just watched it with my kids, which was like maybe a little bit too old for that. They don't fucking know what's going on, but they're super into like Spider-Man and Iron Man and Captain America right now. They dress up every single day, which is incredible. So we've watched the Avengers and stuff, and that's been cool. They don't really understand Guardians of the Galaxy, and then honestly, I'm super glad I talked to a few people about Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because they said do not take your kids, which I don't know if they'd have any fucking idea what was going on, to be honest. But anyways.
So. At least you didn't take your kids to see fucking what's that movie called? Sausage Party or whatever. One with Seth Rogen.
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I honestly I want to take him to. It's so funny. This is actually no substance to Hype Happy Hour, but I love this. So So I used to go to me and my dad would go to the movies every single weekend in the summer. Like we would go almost every week during the whole year. We loved the movies. It was like one thing we did together. Always we would go to the movies. And I used to back in the day, like when I was a teenager, have very high expectations for movies. And you know, my expectations wouldn't get crushed or whatever. I'd feel a certain way. Now I'm at a level where like I don't give a fuck. I don't go to watch a movie to expect that it's going to be the next whatever great film. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll go see Iron Man, even though I know that the story's, I mean, not Iron Man, Flash, even though I know that the story's probably gonna be garbage because it's a
Yeah.
DC movie, just for the action. And it's like,
Yeah.
dude, I'll just go and I'll have a good time. I'll have popcorn, I'll have a soda, I'll just, that's my eating bad for the week. Enjoy some fucking nice action. I don't care what the story is, my guy. And
Yeah.
honestly, it's leveled me up as far as happiness when I go see movies because a lot of the movies aren't that good these days. But it's like, dude, you're telling me you don't. This is the thing. Like, if I could convince my son to go see Transformers with me, like you're telling me, I know it's probably not gonna be that good, but I want to see some shit fly around, blow some stuff up, and look over to see my son eating 45 gummy lifesavers because that's all he came for. I live for that moment, to be honest. That's it. So
Yeah, no, I like that. That's pretty funny actually that you say it like that because I'll do that too for certain movies. Flash being one of them because I am a huge Flashpoint fan of that particular story.
yeah,
It's fucking amazing, and
yeah.
so but yeah, dude, the DC. So this is the kind of shit. This is the kind of shit. I'm like DC. They Warner Bros. Fucking blew it. They
Yeah.
blew it. They
Yeah,
could have
they
had
did.
something, and they blew it.
Hey, here's the thing, dude. Like, people get mad at Ben Affleck because he wasn't a good Batman.
Yeah.
It's not Ben Affleck's fault, dude. It's the writer's fault because it was the worst writing I've ever seen in my life. Like, don't hate on Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck's amazing, dude. Go watch any other Ben Affleck movie. You're going to love him.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, he probably wasn't the best Batman, but the story was literally the worst thing any of us have ever seen. So don't blame Ben Affleck. Let's blame the top level people here.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't even watch the second Wonder Woman movie because I kept hearing about how bad it was. I love the first one. The second one, everyone, even the people that swore by the first one, they're like, "Don't watch it. It's not even worth your time." And
so, did you watch the extent? This is so bad that we're ranting on this, but did you watch the extended cut of the Justice League, like the Zack Snyder? Like,
yes,
I don't even remember how many hours it was. That was good. I liked that. Did you like?
I had to take an intermission in it in the middle of the break.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I loved it. It was so much better. I might actually have to watch it again just to remember because it was just. I just remember watching and being like, "Why the fuck did they cut this? Like, why?"
Or here's another one, dude. Like on the new Flash, right? I'm so excited to go because like Michael Keaton comes back as Batman, dude. Like if you didn't like Michael Keaton as a Batman, like I don't honestly like. That's what I'm going for. I'm going to see an old, fucking 70-year-old Michael Keaton break some people's faces. Like, dude, I don't even need the Flash. Just do Batman with him, and we're absolutely riding.
Yeah, he was actually one of my first Batman that I came across growing up, and I was really a big fan of his. Oh, and one more thing. I thought of a non-anime TV show. That's my favorite.
That's good.
Black Mirror.
Black Mirror. So I've never seen that, but that's hot right now, right?
Yeah, it's hot right now. But I also really enjoy how I don't know if you remember American Horror Story when it first came out, GT, but they were one of the first shows to do mini series, which is that they would do whole seasons that were completely different from each other. So the first whole season was its own, and then the second season was a completely different plot, completely different cast, all that. And
that's cool.
I really liked how they did that. But Black Mirror does that with each episode. So there's no
shit.
Yeah. So if you watch so you can really watch any episode and not be missing anything.
Wow, that's cool. That is really cool. Okay, back to enthusiasm. Last question. Like, listen, we got one life. That's the bottom line. That's what I preach. That's what I want everybody to feel. You know that because you died. So now you have fucking 2 lives. I don't know how you did it, but how do you leverage? This is something that I love because the reason I think I know that I'm going to be, big time as far as positivity and stuff is because my energy that I was gifted with. And when I am around people, that elevates people, similar to your energy, right? Because you're so yourself, you elevate people. So how do you leverage that to motivate or inspire others in your life?
Man, repeat the question one more time. I want to make sure
Okay, so
I want to
I
make
kind
sure I
of
get the right
paraphrased.
answer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of paraphrased it, but how do you leverage your enthusiasm to motivate and inspire others in your life, personal or professional?
Okay. Um, I really try to draw out the same process that I went through with other people in whether they're feeling stuck, whether they're feeling down, whether they're asking me about something, whether they want to know about something, um, or whether they're just trying to, kind of figure something out. I spent a lot of my life, and I know I jokingly kind of put that gift earlier, GT, on your faces. Like, I like to thank me for everything. I like to thank me for all the hard work. I'm kind of half kidding, and what I mean by that is I put a lot of different people on a lot of pedestals, and it's caused nothing but letdowns. And so it really taught me that I need to either step up myself, um, not for the sake of being that person for others, but step up myself to kind of be the person that I kept seeking out. And so that sounds super corny, but like I think that is a really important lesson. Like I never want. I told myself for a long. I never want to be an entrepreneur. I absolutely hate the idea of being an entrepreneur. I want to go to work, collect my paycheck, feel good about my job, go home, my family, come back the next day, rinse and repeat. That's what I told myself for a while. And now here we are. I am trying to be a leader in a sort of way because I really believe in the philosophy of, I'm not a boss, I'm a leader.
Yeah,
And so, you know, I'm gonna be down in the trenches with you. I'm not
yeah.
gonna be sitting up in my, suite being like, yeah, do that. So I I think that answers the question. I had to think about that. I'm not gonna lie to you.
No, I like it because they always say don't meet your heroes, which is actually true. And so I love that you say ground level, right? You stay ground level, and I
Yeah.
think it's like another level of humility, right? Is you bring people down that are maybe successful or whatever you look up to them is you bring them down to ground level because like we're all humans, right? We're all on the same level. I'm not better than anybody else. I'm not better than you. You're not better than me, and we can all be kind to each other. And so no, I absolutely love that answer. And this one may be hard for you. I don't think so, honestly, because it's never. Everybody's done good with it, to be honest. Every single person has crushed this, and there's a one question. Dreams is a one question, and it's what is the dream that you have for your life? I'm going to read you my dream, and then I want you to, off the heart, just tell me what your dream you have for your life is. So I'm Gentle Tornado. I am an honest, enthusiastic, and successful man that will inspire others to live their life through happiness.
Okay.
You and what is your dream that you have for your life?
All right. I want to create a level of trust so that no one ever has to feel like that um, they have to keep their walls up ever. And they can know that they're in a safe place almost immediately just by talking to me.
Yes.
Because there's no fucking reason for anyone to have their walls up around me. And I will do every fucking thing in my control that I can do to make it that way.
That's awesome. I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to read you my favorite poem. It means absolutely everything to me. And it's definitely going to hit you hard. Um, it's called The Dash. It says, I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke of the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that they spent alive on earth, and now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real and always try to understand the way other people feel and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash?
What a fucking banger. Oh my God.
That one hits. That one hits hard.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I got a little bit of goosebumps from that. I'm not gonna lie. That
Yeah.
I think you can also tell by my voice change.
Yeah. I mean, it's what we do, with our dash. And that's it. Like every single day is an opportunity, and that's it, man. We leave a legacy and do our best.
I almost had a dash myself just half a life ago. So
It's crazy, man. You get that opportunity. All right, look, listen, here's how we end it. You get to leave the audience with one final question and one final statement. So the statement could be literally anything you want, and then the question is also anything you want.
Okay. Now this is a question towards you, I'm assuming?
No.
Okay.
To the audience.
For the audience.
Both of these are for the audience.
Okay. All right. Are you proud of the way you're living your life right now?
All right. Let's go. I love it. Okay. What's your final statement?
I'm thinking. Anytime you start talking to anyone else, I want you to look at them, talk to them, and treat them exactly as you would a loved one or as if they're standing right in front of you. Because the reality is, everyone deserves that, including yourself. Simple as that.
We're fucking riding, dude. Oh, man. Oh, that fired me up. Listen, this has been Hyped Happy Hour, episode 56 with my band Sanza. Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. We're going to be riding in 3 days, 2 days, 3 days. I don't know. It's all a blur to
2
me.
days.
Yeah.
2
Can't
days.
stop, won't stop, dude. I appreciate you coming on. Listen, if anybody's watching, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. Just help me spread positivity. Help me spread these amazing people's stories on the podcast. I appreciate you. We'll see you next time. Peace.